morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, June 19th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Shuram Kargani, LA Sanitation.
Good morning, Patricia Chang, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Frank Rinaldi with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Craig Shaw, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Lori Rittenberg, City Attorney.
Dr. Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we received a speaker card under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section, and we also received speaker cards on all the items for today's agenda.
We'll close we'll close the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, May 26, 2017 by Commissioner Rivas? Any objection? Without objection, we will do that. Agenda item number 3 is in Council District 14. Dr. Campos, I think we ought to move that one to June 28th when we have the other CD14 AGF hearings. Is that the right date?
That is correct, June 28th.
Okay, so agenda item number 3 will move to June 28th. Agenda item number 9, a partial release of a stop notice. Hardy and Harper Incorporated. Hardy and Harper Incorporated have transmitted the partial release of a stop notice in the amount of $45,138.31, reducing the total stop notice from $194,478.43 to $149,340.12. It's about a $900 difference for asphalt and concrete related materials and labor in connection with the Machado Lake Ecosystem Rehabilitation Project. The contractor is OHL USA Incorporated. What? Dr. Campos, what do we have on that? Okay, so Ms. Rittenberg, we have, and I'll ask the city attorney's office if we could have, Mr. Spindler, we haven't called you yet, so wait until. But you can't sit and yell and disrupt a meeting. You can't sit and yell and disrupt a meeting before I. Yes, you are. Before I even call you. So you just wait until the item is called, and then you're entitled to speak. That's the Brown Act. Dr. Campos, there are no identifying features on this card. There's only there are only offensive slang curse words on this card.
That is correct. So
what I would like from the city attorney's office, Ms. Rittenberg, is just some sort of a Brown Act analysis to whether, because anybody could put this card in. It's not an identifying feature like a name or anything. So I don't have to have it today because we know who the identifier is on the card, and I'm going to call him up. But I'm not going to read an insult into the record just because that's what they write on the card when they don't do anything and make any attempt to reasonably identify themselves, which I can't imagine the Brown Act doesn't address. So
I have a question.
If you know, you could let us know. Otherwise, if the city attorney's office could let us know for the future, because it happens a lot.
I have an operation.
I would say for now, it would be helpful. I think it would be appropriate for the speaker to indicate a name. What he indicated on the card is not a name. That would be ascribed to, reasonably ascribed to a person. So if he wants to indicate a name on the speaker card, and he is disrupting the meeting right now. He's just, the more he's talking like this is actually disrupting the meeting, the process of
Understood.
The
But
meeting.
so if we could just get a response back on that,
Yes.
Because it'll happen in the future. Maybe we can get something that we
Yes, I
can
certainly
use, because all they do is fish for lawsuits. So Commissioner Davis.
I have a point of clarification. Do we have board rules that identify and clarify the process that constituents must engage in to speak? Do we have any rules? documented?
Absolutely. We'd also
Could you
have the
tell me
board
what those
rules,
are?
and then we also have the decorum for the board
What are those?
policies.
Could you tell me
So
what
the board rules require every individual that wants to address the board to submit a speaker card before the item has been announced by our presiding officer, which is President James. At this point, if the speaker card is submitted after the fact, then it's at the discretion of the presiding officer to accept that speaker card.
I'd like to reflect back to. Oh,
However, there are requirements in order for us to identify the individual. In this case, we did offer to Mr. Spindler to identify himself as a speaker card as opposed to the language that he wrote on the speaker card. Right now, it's considered offensive language to me, at least. And so, therefore, that's the question that's being posed by our president.
yeah, I just wanted to be clear that the board rules do require people to, I thought I heard you say complete the card, is that what it says? Or I'm trying to get a better understanding specifically of what the board rules are and instructions to constituents as to the procedure they must follow to be heard.
They must at least identify the item that they're going to address, the date in which the item is being held, and the name at minimum.
So the
All
board
additional-
rules do require individuals who do want to appropriately speak before this body. It is identified in the board rules that an individual must put his or her name on a card before being allowed to speak according to board rules.
That is correct.
Okay, so my question to you, City Attorney, is if there are some board rules that each body and each governing organization identifies as the rules of behavior for proceeding to speak in that particular body, then where are we?
I think that without doing research on it, I think my general impression is that he should indicate a name that would be normally ascribed to a person,
And that
rather than other words. Now, point of clarification, while he's speaking, he can use what we would consider offensive language. He's entitled to do that.
Sure.
Under the First Amendment and all the case law.
That is correct.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
But in terms of a speaker card, he needs to
Identify name.
identify himself.
We'll get that resolved at the city attorney's office level. But for today, Mr. Spindler, you've got a couple of cards that you have your name on, and you have a couple of cards that you don't. You're the only person, according to our executive officer, that's turned in any cards. So if you want to speak on number 9, Mr. Spindler, you're entitled to speak on number 9. On number 9.
Good.
But we'll get the card issue
I
squared
love
away.
the fact you want to gamble. I'm ready to gamble. Let's see what the Brown Act says under 54-950 regarding what you have to put on the card. You know, I'm in federal court right now on this issue. I'm glad you brought it up. Your local meeting rules, if they violate state or federal
Mr. Spindler,
laws,
we're on,
they're
we're on
void.
number 9. We're on number 9. Go ahead and speak to number 9 if you would like.
Don't speak like this. Fucking partial fucking release. Fucking up fucking stop fucking notice. Hardy and Harper Inc. Fucking reduction. Fucking 45,138.31. Reducing the total stop notice.
Let's do it for 0. It's not fair to Hardy and Harper. They didn't do nothing wrong. What is this? Only 45,000. Make it 0. Pay people for their work. $194,000. Give them the $194,000. They signed a contract. They performed the work. They didn't blackmail the supervisor. They didn't pay off the mayor. These are just union jobs. These are hardworking folks. They're just trying to mix asphalt and concrete to fix potholes. And these sidewalks that you have obstructed with your homeless encampments, like on South Coronado between 8th and James M. Woods, where you're violating Willits. We need Hardy and Harper and all the other Hardy and Harpers to get the work done under Willits. Make them whole. Do not reduce their pay.
On agenda item number 9, is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item number 9 forthwith by Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 8, Authority for Expenditure, Silverthorne Environmental Consulting Services. Bureau of Sanitation, Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $98,000 for a hazmat technician instruction, a specialized 160-hour course designed to prepare trainees on hazardous materials response team duties with didactic and hands-on training in real-world scenario-based experiences. Mr. Spinner, you have a card on number 8.
Speaker card says fuck you for the record. And I say fuck this.
Actually, the speaker card does not say that, sir. Your name's on the card. Go ahead.
Oh, as cadet. Yes, I'm one of the cadets, by the way, in the cadet program. Very good. Yes, like my fellow cadets, we take cars and joyride legally. Now, $98,000 for what? A hazmat technical instruction? What are you going to teach people? If something is burning your hand, you get treatment. If something says danger, you do not handle it without proper equipment. A specialized course, my ass. Hazmat, Hazardous Material Response Team, has been on OSHA's books for 50 years. What this says to me is that the city people and the city family have not been properly trained under OSHA standards and Cal OSHA standards. You're afraid of being sued because apparently you've had an industrial accident investigated by Cal OSHA. Cal OSHA does a remarkable job, by the way. They get on this, and they are not going to let you abuse city workers and private contractors and their folks working on jobs. So if you need a 160-hour course, then that means you fucked up from the beginning. You should have trained them before, not after industrial accidents were being reported. Because if there was no reporting, you wouldn't give a goddamn about your workers. You'd let them stick their hands in anything and get injured at any time. And then if they file a complaint, you go out to social services and have their kids picked up for alleged abuse. So piss on you. This is nothing but a cover-up.
Gonzalo Barriga. Morning, sir.
Morning.
How are you?
Mr. President? Great, and yourself? Thank you
Great,
for
thank you.
having me, Honorable Commission and Bureau Executives. So is there any questions you'd like me to answer? Or
Any
just give-
questions on this at all? Commissioner Jacinto, we'll start with you.
Thank you, President James. Mr. Barraga, just currently, can you describe the current type of training that we have for hazmat materials for our sanitation staff, sir?
Yes, sir. Currently, we have Hazardous Materials Technician, which is the base foundation training level for our employees that do hazmat incidents. Once you complete that class, which is 160 hours, then that allows you to take Hazmat Specialist course, which is another 80 hours, 2 weeks, and then after that is Incident Commander. These are all certified trainings by the government code and OSHA and Cal EPA, what is it called? Office of Emergency Services from the state of California approved courses, and the technician course and instructors are certified and approved by the state.
So this is, you said this is for the first 160 hours.
Correct.
So we are increasing, augmenting?
So this is for our new staff. We've been hiring new ECIs, and so we're going to have about 15 ECIs attending this course, and we're pretty proud of it. It's our largest group to go through the course. We've typically relied on grant training through the past years, 3 to 4 people, but since we've hired such a large amount of staff, we needed to train them, and this money would be the support.
So this is our first level.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. How many weeks is the 160-hour span over?
It's 4 weeks. It's 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, so it's about 8 weeks long.
Okay.
4 weeks in total.
And could you describe just some of the rigors of the job, if you will, Obviously, I've seen some of the equipment. We've worked with you guys over the years on any number of occasions. There's just a unique nature to this job that I think it would be nice for the record to have.
Yes, sir. So our ECIs respond to hotline or complaints from the residents or referrals from other agencies for incidents regarding emergency response to a spill of gasoline or from a tanker truck. Also complaints of unknown containers illegally abandoned in the alleyway, street, etc. So our staff would go address those situations in a safe manner, and this training would prepare them to identify where the proper PPE, personal protective equipment, and hazard categorize the substances so that it can be removed from the street and shipped off for proper disposal. Also, staff perform inspections in the field or in facilities, working closely with hazardous materials, hazardous waste, and they have to operate in a safe manner, also be able to identify and, if necessary, perform wet chemistry to identify those materials inside the facility or outside on the street illegally abandoned.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis.
I just wanted to ask, for general information's sake, the training, we have several different experts that are doing the training, not just one person, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is the training done here on site in the city, or do we go out to another central location for the training?
The training is being performed at the Los Angeles Regional Training Facility, which is the consortium of all the fire departments in the greater Los Angeles area, and it's Rio Hondo Academy, Santa Fe Springs.
Okay, great. We've had the training before. Is this a continuation of this training, or is this the first time we're doing this training?
We have had the training before. In this scenario, we are funding the money so that we can put a group of individuals, a large group, through the course. And we've been fortunate in the past to receive grants from other fire departments to put our staff through. And this time around, there'll be a couple of firefighters also going through the class from Los Angeles Fire Department, LA County Fire Department with our staff.
Great. Is the training required by the state, or is it required by us?
It is required by the state of California in the California Government Code. For anyone responding to unknown materials in the public right-of-way, they must be a hazardous materials technician and or specialist and or incident commander to run an incident.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Repenning.
Thank you, Gonzalo. The training that you're doing, will it also benefit the work that your team is doing in terms of homeless encampments?
Yes, the homeless encampments, we encounter a lot of unknown materials, household hazardous waste, and hazardous waste and materials, and that would assist them with identifying also with biohazardous waste and how to properly address and approach incidents and how to properly mitigate and oversee contractors removing those wastes from syringes to human excrement, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, Gonzalo. Is there a motion on number 8 by Commissioner Cento, seconded by Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Any issue sending number 8 forthwith? We will send number 8 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 4, Council District 11, contract acceptance, Venice Pumping Plant Emergency Variable Frequency Drive Replacement. Recommending that the board accept the contract. Mr. Spinner, you have a card on number 4.
Is that one of the fuck you cards? Good.
No.
Oh. So the Venice Pumping Plant. Yes, that's the name of the gay bar over there in Venice. Yeah, the Venice Pumping Plant. So emergency variable frequency. Yeah, there's a lot of gay sex that goes on in that bar over there off of Venice and Washington. So we know that Mike Bonin, openly gay, promoting the LGBT community in this manner on number 4. Yes, of course we support it. Just Saturday, CD6, they had an LGBTQ event, and Mike Bonin was very supportive. So the Venice Pumping Plant is a good place for people to meet. If they want to come out, that's a good place to go. And yes, sometimes it is an emergency. Yeah, sexual transition and confusion is an emergency, and there's a lot of frequency driving it. And, I mean, I'm not privy to the actual events that go on there, but I hear the Venice pumping plant is open 24 hours a day, but can only serve alcohol to 2 a.m. So under state law, the Venice pumping plant should have a variance allowing alcohol sales till 4 a.m. I think that is going to be the new state law. It should be sent forthwith. Contract acceptance, absolutely, yes. Mike Bonin definitely supports the contract acceptance for this cultural historical monument, the Venice pumping plant, one of the earliest gay bars in all of Los Angeles. An absolute excellent item. And yes, we fully support the gay and lesbian community on number 4.
On number 4, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Chris Smith, Bureau of Contract Administration. This contract was awarded December 3rd, 2013, and completed October 1st, 2015. It was awarded off the on-call contract for wastewater treatment plant and wastewater facilities. The contract replaced 2 variable frequency drives, 2 electric motors at the pumping plant that had reached the end of their useful life. Due to the nature of the contract being an emergency nature, there were no specific outreach requirements for the contract, and there are no unresolved property or financial issues. Bureau recommends acceptance.
Any questions at all from Mr. Smith on agenda item number 4, Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you. Chris, I see that we completed the project about 6% below engineer's estimate, correct? So on time, and the variable, just for the record, the variable frequency equipment, what is its function, sir?
They're electric motors. That's essentially what they are.
Regular maintenance?
Correct.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Cinto and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending 4 forthwith? We will send number 4 forthwith. Agenda item number 5 in Council District 6, contract acceptance, Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Aeration Tanks Rehabilitation Project, recommending that the board accept the project. Mr. Spindler, you have a card on number 5 as well. Go ahead, sir.
It's a CD6 update. That's right.
She's got pimps, pimps, pimps. And Sepulveda and Roscoe and Sepulveda and Santa Coy, Sepulveda and Victory, Sepulveda and Burbank.
Catch basins for the prostitutes and drug needles.
She has pimps, pimps, pimps. We're good at her office too.
It's an update.
She's a pimp.
She's a pimp.
Cleaning up the prostitutes. Clean up those drug needles and condoms. Throwing it down those stormwater drains. That's bad. And that's what you do whenever you drive through all of those drug-infested drug dealer prostitution zones that Nuri Martinez allows for payoff cash. You put that out and you play that video and you go, Nuri, and they run and they run, and I can clean up CD6 in 2 weeks. Just give me those cadets. But you guys don't want to do that. You just go through the same bullshit. That's why your stormwater drains are filled with all the trash and the condoms and the needles and all of this drug paraphernalia. Yes, I support this item, and I support cleaning up Nuri Martinez's pimp operation.
Mr. Smith on number 6, please.
Contract was awarded April 22nd, 2015.
Sorry, number 5. Go ahead.
Completed July 8, 2016 by Murray Plumbing and Heating Corp. The contract consisted of putting a lining in 18 aeration basins. The contractor met all of the outreach requirements of the contract. There was no project labor agreement, and there are no unresolved property or financial issues. The Bureau recommends acceptance.
Questions on agenda item number 5? I don't have any questions. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We will send number 5 forthwith. Agenda item number 1, Council District 15, above ground facilities variance, 948 North McDonald Avenue on the opposite side of the lot. First, approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the above ground facility ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 6208 VB. And secondly, authorize mobility to install a 42-foot, 2-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 948 North McDonald Avenue on the opposite side of the lot. Mr. Spindler, you have a card in on number 1.
It's one of the fuck you cards, isn't it?
No, it's a Wayne card.
Oh, hey, they're not calling the magic cards. I get bonus time on those. So, number 1, yes, the above ground variance. Nobody wants this. Nobody except corporate America. And who's going to win this battle? Corporate America. We all work for corporate America. We all should have an LLC. Everybody here lies, cheats, and steals for something called the Los Angeles Municipal Corporation. Everybody. The LA Municipal Corporation is a criminal enterprise, so they grant benefits to other LLCs and corporate bodies. In the middle of the public right-of-way, electrocuting people. Ugly fucking thing. But you're going to support it. That's why I'm going to take a fucking minute on it.
Mr. Ledoux on number 1.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work for the Bureau of Engineering Central District. This is a mobility monopole, 42 feet 2 inches in height. It is adjacent to a residential property at 948 West McDonald Avenue on the off-street side of the lot. This is in CD 15, Joe Buscaino's district, and they are remaining neutral at this point in time on this. I received no appeals or emails or phone calls, pro or con, on this particular item. It is adjacent, as you can see from the picture, to a probably looks like a single-family resident home. There were 2 lots notified on this one, that lot and the lot across the street, and I did not hear from either one.
Okay. Is Shannon from
Yes, she is.
Mobility? Can I ask you a question on this? Hi, could you talk about the co-location attempts, given that this is a residential area?
Sure. The LED DWP JPA sites were all had high transmission lines on them, so we couldn't co-locate on those. And the street light adjacent to it is a little too short for our needs.
Okay, and we're still waiting for word on what DOT is
And I
considering.
don't think there's traffic lights in this area.
Because of the residential nature?
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? There you go, Commissioner Cinto.
Thank you, President James. Shannon, the purpose of the monopole or the wood pole is to provide service to the local residents in that area, correct? In the search ring?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? I'll make a motion on number 1 that we adopt number 1, seconded by Commissioner Cinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Council District 6, above ground facility variance at 7056 North DeSellis Place, recommending that the board approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the AGF ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 6208 VB, and authorize Mobility LLC to install a 59-foot, 2-inch high wood monopole on the public right-of-way adjacent to 7056 DeSellis Place. And Mr. Spindler, you have a card on number 2?
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, before the speaker speaks, just for the record, in accordance to Board Rule number 13 and also as posted in the agenda, we do have a 10-minute rule. Mr. Spindler's at 9 minutes, so you do have 1 minute left, Mr. Spindler.
Yeah, I think he knows that. Go ahead, Mr. Spindler. Thank you.
Yes, here we go again. That's what we're here to do. We're here to watch Nuri Martinez, the female pimp. And of course, another monopole, another variance, another piece of garbage, and that poor, drug-infested, homeless-infested, jobless, horrible place. I grew up in Van Nuys when Mayor Bradley ran this city. Goddamn place is great. Now it's a fucking gutless, worthless shithole. So the only good thing about it is you can put up stuff that makes money, like these little towers here, 60-foot tower in the right-of-way. And of course you'll put it in because you need the money. They got no jobs. They're living on the streets. They're selling drugs. They're prostituting and pimping through Nuri Martinez's pimp office. That's it. Pimps and cell phone towers. What a fucking shame.
Mr. Ledoux on agenda item number 2.
My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work at the Bureau of Engineering Central District. Once again, this is a mobility monopole, 59 feet 2 inches high. It is in CD6, Nuri Martinez's district. They are remaining neutral. This isn't a residential zone. The interesting thing about this particular site, though, is this is on a lot that has a very large concentration of residential units, but the building it is beside is set off from all the residential units and looks like it's some sort of maintenance building. It has a gate that goes into a warehouse-like building, I would imagine, for custodial and maintenance for the ground, so it's not anywhere near anyone's actual resident in this particular case. There was no appeals, and I did not receive any phone calls or emails pro or con on this one.
Was this the one that there were 6 notices that were sent out?
This one, we sent out 5 notifications.
5 notifications, and nothing came back?
Nothing came back.
Commissioner Repenning?
Can I just request a briefing on the monopoles? We're seeing several of them recently, and I just see the photos. I see a street light. I see a wood power pole. I see a taller. I see power lines, and I just wanna find out more about what we're doing to try to reduce. I mean, I just feel like we're cluttering up the public right of way with some of these things. And
well, the picture that you're looking at there, all those poles have quite a bit of stuff on them, especially the real tall ones with multiple cross arms. Typically, those are not used for co-location. And once again, if you're doing anywhere near a 59-foot pole, even if you reduce that, street lights are typically 25 to 30 feet in height, and there's no way you could get an antenna up that high on one of those kind of street lights.
okay, I'm not gonna vote against this today because I know others have looked at this, and I know that but I do want to talk offline and have a longer discussion about what we're expecting to see. I mean, how many more of these are we going to see coming over the next few years? And have we truly explored all of the options that modern technology can provide?
As I said, mobility, when they originally came to us, were going to do about 600 monopoles. That was a third of the build-out. The rest, 2/3, were all co-located. And since that time, even some of that original have been co-located. So there was an effort. But yes, we're in a time where I'm seeing more activity than I've ever seen.
Okay. Well, let's talk offline. Thank you, Mr. Ledoux.
Thank you, Mr. Ledoux. Commissioner Rivas?
So, excuse me, are all of the monopoles 59 feet?
No, they vary. In fact,
Is it with, my question is, it the line of sight? Does it depending on the location?
Yeah, it's a matter of what might be in the way. It's a matter of what the propagation pattern is they need. It's determined by a number of different items.
But would co-locating on 2, like streetlights or other existing utility poles,
could that replace one 59-foot
If you're
monopole?
talking about something that's 59 feet and you're dropping it down to 25, 30 feet, you're going to need a number of different sites to get that same amount of coverage.
So
You know, in some
it would
cases,
require
it may
multiple-
be possible to do so, and in others, it may not. Once again, that would be something that would have to be brought up with mobility so that they can get their technical experts out there to see that. But that is an incredible drop in height.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Anything further? I'll make a motion on agenda item number 2. Is there a second, Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Mr. Ledoux, thank you, and you can meet with Commissioner Penning, of course. Agenda item number 6, personal services contract, fabrication and installation of full capture catch basin inserts and curb opening screen covers. Recommending that the board first approve and forward the report with transmittals to the mayor with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute a 3-year personal services contract with Ecology Control Industries. They're doing business as American Stormwater for the fabrication and installation of full capture catch basin inserts and curb opening screen covers. This is for an amount not to exceed $2,300,000, and authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract upon approval by the mayor. The speaker card time has expired. Dawn Petschauer is here. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners, and Bureau Executives. Dawn Petschauer, LA Sanitation, Watershed Protection Division. We are asking that you award and execute a new contract to American Stormwater to support our catch basin Phase 4 replacement program. The city is mandated by the regional board TMDL requirements to reduce trash discharges to our watersheds by 10% annually until full compliance is met and maintained. And essentially, this contract will include the fabrication and installation of full capture inserts and catch basin screen covers in the city's Machado Lake and Santa Monica Bay watersheds pursuant to the MS4 permit. As you mentioned, the contract total is $2.3 million. It's funded entirely through Proposition O. The duration of it will be 3 years with no option for them to renew. And the failure for us to implement this would result in the city becoming non-compliant with our MS4 permit, which could result in fines of about $33,000 per day. I will say that the nature of the work is very specialized, so that sometimes hinders our ability to subcontract accordingly. But we were able to retain a high percentage of minority participation, with the WBE being about 27%. And there's been an update to the fact sheet you have. The original MBE was 0.5%, but in final negotiations, we were actually able to negotiate up to 10% for that. So.
Excellent, thank you. And I would just note for the record, the board report and its explanation of the process and what's happening here is helpful. Okay. So I certainly appreciate that. Just for the record, by way of mathematics, it looks like that we're doing about 2,600 of these for $2.3 million. That's about $1,000 a piece, recognizing that there's 2 different apparati that go into place. So that's why the explanation was helpful. Commissioner Repenning?
Sure. I just want to thank you guys for the good inclusion numbers on the contract. And it sounds like a good effort was made. And as always, I look forward to increasing our ability to ensure that we have clean watershed. So thank you, Dr. Targani.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
I just wanted to compliment the department too, as well as for our outreach and the results that we were able to get, and in particular, and of note, the fact that we were able to have women intricately involved as well, because we know the data in terms of the Los Angeles County involvement in businesses. Women have a high percentage of businesses in the area, so it's very good and very pleased to see our progress.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion on number 6? By Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issues sending number 6 forthwith? We will send number 6 forthwith. Thank you, ma'am. Agenda item number 7, Council District 14, recommending that the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis approving the request of Papich Construction Incorporated for the subcontractor substitution of Apodaca Paving Incorporated, a bid-listed small business enterprise, emergency business enterprise, and disabled veteran business enterprise subcontractor for earthwork, base, paving, and striping work on the above-referenced project with Papich's own forces. Mr. Smith on number 7.
Yes, the Bureau received a request March 28, 2017 from Papich Construction to substitute Apodaca Paving, Inc., their SBE, EBE, DVBE subcontractor for earthwork and paving, with their own forces. Included in their request was a letter from Apodaca withdrawing from that portion of the work. The bid listed amount for Apodaca's portion of the work was $2,376,000. Papich will complete that portion of the work for the same amount, so the substitution will be at no additional cost to the city, and the Bureau concurs with Commissioner Davis's recommendation to approve this substitution.
Questions? Commissioner Davis on number 7?
No questions. All right.
Motion? Okay. Any questions? Commissioner Davis has made a motion. I'll second it along with Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issues sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk of all voting items other than the oral report?
Yes, you have.
Okay. General public comment, Mr. Spindler. Well, first of all, let me call Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman? Mr. Herman? No, Mr. Herman. Mr. Spindler, you have a card on general public comment.
Okay. Yes, they honored Joel Jacinto on Friday in Filipino celebration. But you might have missed what happened on Friday when your chairman ran into the council chambers. It appears Gil Cedillo's property that he's going to build his new constituent center was fucked away. Why? Because the city attorney's office failed to file a one-page piece of paper like this, calendaring it for council action to extend a 10-year statute of limitations because the property was acquired by eminent domain in 2007, May. So now, 2017, magically in June, late, it was calendared, voted on, and there's going to be a second reading. And everybody came into the council chambers. Yes, the lawyer for the prior owner was there. He wants the property back because it's worth a lot more now than it used to be 10 years ago. 10 years ago, see what you did is you forced him to sell the property at eminent domain at 2007 prices at the bottom of the market. You fucked him, and now he's going to fuck you. See, karma's a bitch. Every time you screw with somebody, if they have a good heart like I do, they're going to come back and bite you in the ass one of these days when you least see it. But I don't like it. I want the constituent center built because I drove up there. That's in the Sereno area. And I want it on North Figueroa. I want Mr. Cedillo to get his new district. So you guys come up with the cash. I don't give a fuck where you get it. You pay this thing, you settle this thing, and you build that constituent center for Mr. Cedillo in the next 2 years. Because I'm going to tell you something. He's going to be around for 5 years, even with his diabetes. He's going to kick your guy's ass on that budget. So you better think about it. It's going to cost about $3 million. Give the owner the $3 million, settle it, and then you keep the land and you build the constituent center. And don't fuck them again.
On agenda item number 10, status of construction of, those are all the speaker cards, so we'll close general public comment. Status of construction of public buildings and open space program from the Bureau of Engineering. Ms. Weintraub.
Good morning, Commissioners and Bureau Representatives. Deborah Weintraub, Chief Deputy City Engineer, Bureau of Engineering. I'm taking this opportunity to talk to you a bit more detailed about the new park that we are in the process of designing that's associated with the 6th Street Viaduct. I know that Julie Allen was here not too long ago and gave you some general information. So if you go to slide number 2, you see the approximately 12 acres that are part of the park that we are in the process of designing. On slide 3, you see, I'm sorry it's so small, but you see the survey that we used at 2 public meetings, and then through online outreach, we had over 1,000 survey responses. So a very robust response from folks both in the neighborhood and from across the city about the kinds of activities. It's really the first time in a long time we're adding parks and open space of this scale. So it was very important to the council office and to all of us involved to try and get some robust feedback. And if you go to the next slide, you see a kind of breakdown of the responses. So it came from all across the city with a cluster of folks in the neighborhood, but we had about even responses on the east and west side of the river. And on the next page, you see in terms of numbers who responded, the kinds of activities that we heard from the community they wanted. So walking, soccer, rock climbing, picnics and outdoor grills, just enjoying green open space, the ability to have music performances, some description of river ecology, and they definitely wanted restrooms. And if you go to the next page, we asked, when are you most likely to visit the park? And the majority of folks said, noon, around noon. The majority said that they would likely come in a personal vehicle and that they would likely bring friends with them to the park. And so I know that Julie also spoke to you on the next slide that we had presented in our prior community meetings 3 kind of formal options for structuring the park. And the concepts were a promenade, which was a more linear approach to the layout, canopies and objects, which sort of meanders you through the park, and then what we called episodic, which was a combination of the two. And it was pretty uniform that everyone ended up telling us they liked the canopy and objects approach. So on the next page, you see an overall layout of what the canopy and objects structure of the park will look like. And the things that are fixed elements in this layout, because we're about to go in late July to more detailed public meetings, the synthetic turf soccer field is fixed, and that's fixed because the size of the area we need and the location of the piers for the bridge. And then on the west side, the Arts Plaza is fixed, and that's the area under the bridge where we have a generous donation from the Leonard Hill Foundation to help build out that space. So the next page gives you some precedents of other parks around the country, what the formal structure might look like. And the next page gives you some kind of the active programming potential. And that's one of the things that we're going to particularly focus on with our next public meetings is what kind of activities in specific we've laid out a structure do they want to see? Like, is the water play for kids a priority? Is the rock climbing wall, which they had mentioned, is that a priority? So then the next slide gives you a kind of more detailed layout of what the east side would look like. And you go from the 101 freeway all the way on the right, crossing Clarence, and then Anderson, and then Mission, and the ramp structure is to the west of Mission that brings you down from the bridge to the park space. You see a 3-dimensional rendering at a fairly large scale of the park layout on the east side, and some of those ellipses that are unidentified are the areas where we could add specific programming activities. Then you go to the west side, and again there's the Arts Plaza, and then this long linear park space between Santa Fe and Mateo, which has a ramp also that brings you down from the bridge structure. The next page shows you a 3D rendering of what that looks like. And then a kind of closer up of the area underneath the bridge where the Arts Plaza, which is intended to be a performance space, what it could look like. So our notice of preparation, next slide, initial study was released April 13th. The comment period ended May 22nd. We had 20 comments received, and they were all good comments that we will work on responding to. Our next community meetings are tentatively right now scheduled for July 24th and 25th. We've been holding them one on each side of the river, and we will do that for those 2 as well. And as I mentioned, our focus will be on more detailed designs that develop the canopy and objects concept. We also will introduce Glenn Kino, who is the artist that's been chosen to do the 1% for art in the park. And we're still on track, scheduled to complete construction the end of 2020. That is assuming that we do a negotiated contract with the current bridge contractor. So that's my update. I just wanted to make you aware of it because it's one of our very large park projects in the Bureau of Engineering. I'm happy to answer any questions.
There you go. We'll start with Commissioner Santos figured out how to make that sound go away on the microphone.
Thank you, President James.
Engineering there.
Deborah,
Commissioner Santos, go
thank
ahead.
you, sir. Deborah, this is great. I want to compliment you and the team, Julie, and of course Gary Lee Moore, our city engineer, and the project team is working with you to get this robust set of information and data and engagement. That's important. 12 acres in the city of Los Angeles is unprecedented in this generation. So we have a great opportunity. I think that the process by which we're going with the meetings, Dr. Campos, and everything, I'll cut it short, is right on. I look forward to joining you for the next more detailed and, the multimodal things, the recreation, the arts, the public art are all great things. We're moving forward. Thank you, Deborah.
For the comments, thank you, Commissioner Santos. For the comments that are received, Deborah, anything of note or, I don't mean to insult people, maybe, are there any comments that you would raise to us today that have been received that we might want to find as a surprising comment for one reason or another?
I don't think so. I think the comments we got were very much in line with the potential for the park and open space. One of the issues that will come up is there is a building, an existing unreinforced masonry bowstring truss building that we had to purchase as part of the bridge construction. And at the moment, we don't have funds to either renovate that building or to build a new building there. And there were comments, folks would really like to see that building made usable as a park-related space. And we're in discussions with the council office about potentially identifying additional funds for that. So that's an unresolved issue, and that may come back for discussion.
Do you know what the funding range would be needed, ideally, if you were able to somehow obtain a grant somewhere? In what monetary range would that be?
For the building in particular?
Yes.
So I should also mention that the budget for the construction of the park, we're now in negotiations with CAO and the council office to increase that budget based on the anticipated costs we may be seeing for hazardous materials abatement. So the first need would be just identifying additional money for the park development. The building project budget, and I say this all due respect, it's an initial study, was about $13 million, but that's all project budget, hard and soft costs included. So it was pretty substantial. The opinion we had was that renovating the unreinforced masonry building is probably about the same cost, so it might make more sense to build a new building, and you could build a two-story building and potentially have a leasable restaurant space or some way to bring revenue to the park. So that's where we stand on that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Thank you. Commissioner Repenning?
Thank you, Deborah. How does the proposed opening date, completion date of the park line up with the completion of the bridge?
So it lines up exactly, and that's the hope. But again, as I said, it's dependent on our current contractor and us negotiating a reasonable agreement for the park construction. They have indicated that they're interested, but we have to be further along with our designs to begin that process. If they don't do the construction themselves, the park may be able to be constructed in phases as they move out of sites, but they need to we would have to work with them on that because they are controlling the open space as part of their laydown area for bridge construction.
It's been really interesting to see this project, the bridge, attract additional investment, and I know this park wasn't necessarily part of the plan at the outset, but the funding is it's attracted funding and interest interest, and I wonder if you wanted to talk a little bit about how the funding's coming together, and are we there yet for construction, or is there still a gap?
So there's still a gap, and the funding is partially a commitment for the mayor's annual budgets to put funds in for the park. So that's also still dependent on the annual budget process being able to do that. But there is still a gap, especially for the kind of programming elements, and that's why I mentioned that the council office is talking with us and the CAO about identifying additional monies.
Great. Well, thank you for your work on this. It's going to be an exciting project, and I'm really just appreciative of all the outreach that's been done. I think it's so important to get as much input as possible to make sure that what we're building is what people want.
So in addition to, I just mentioned, in addition to a required EIR meeting in English, this is the first project that we've done a full meeting in Spanish, because some of the community members said even with the earphones they had a hard time following it, and would we do one in Spanish. So we did an entire meeting in Spanish, thanks to the fact that the head of our environmental division is fluent in Spanish. So that's a first for the Bureau of Engineering.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. The oral report will be received. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.